So I want to start off straight away by asking everyone here who would describe themselves as ambitious, just by show of hands. Okay, so actually that's a lot more of you than I thought it would be, but it's really good to see that there are so many people who are happy to say that they're ambitious. And I'm going to talk to you about why I have struggled so much over the years with describing myself as ambitious or being described as ambitious. And it started actually about 5 years ago. Obviously, I was working here because I have been forever, and I was in the loos at the top of the building here at the Wave, and I hear a couple of people come in to the room, and they're chatting, and I recognise the voices, and they're saying, "Oh, the thing about Amy is you can't trust her because she's really ambitious." And you know, I was their manager at the time, but I'd always considered myself sort of like part of the gang, and it really like shook me. I have heard people like talk about me before or said stuff about the way I look or the way I behave that hasn't perhaps been very kind, but this really hit me because it challenged who I was as a human being. It challenged my core values, my core beliefs. Like, shit, does this mean then that I am now Amy who can't be trusted? Like, am I not kind? What is it? If because I want to do well at work, does this mean that I'm now considered somebody who is untrustworthy, or who I can't be your friend anymore? And actually, when I was preparing for this talk, I was talking about the fact that I was going to share this story at home. And my boyfriend said to me, "Oh God, I remember that. Like, really, you were really upset about that." And he still doesn't really get why it bothered me so much. And it made me think a lot about what it was that I was so hurt by. And it's particularly the thing that stuck with me was ambition. Like, the can't trust me bit, you know, whatever. But it really hurt my feelings. I was being described as somebody who was ambitious. Like, that's the worst thing ever. And when I was doing some research for this talk, I came across this quote from Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. And it says, "Aggressive and hard-charging women violate unwritten rules about acceptable social conduct. Men are continually applauded for being ambitious, powerful and successful, but women who display these same traits often pay a social penalty. Female accomplishments come at a cost." Now, this resonated with me because that's what was happening. I was paying a social price for it sharing with people my desire to do well and succeed. And it made me think, is that because I am a woman? Is gender the reason why I'm paying that social penalty? But so I want to explore a little bit about gender when we go through this talk, but it's not all about gender. And let's start with what ambition actually means. So when I look at this, a strong desire to do or achieve something. Every single one of us at some point in our lives has had a strong desire to do or achieve something. So why is this word cutting me so deeply? It's just a word like any other, but the context is what's important, right? So ambition is a standalone, a strong desire to do or achieve something. That's fine. I have plenty of strong desires to do and achieve plenty of things. But when I hear it in that context, it really hurts my feelings and really, you know, makes me stop and think about who I am as a person and whether I can actually be a kind person who's successful at work. So I started looking at different words, their meanings, and the importance of context when applied. And while I was doing that, I found an article about different words that were used negatively when applied to gender. So a couple of those that I found were like battle axe, bossy, sassy, like words that are used often to describe women. My ultimate favourite, working mum. How many working dads do you know? Like that is a classic phrase that is used regularly. Like, oh, she's a working mum. But we never use the same turn of phrase when we're applying it to men. So it's interesting to think about why that is. I'm staying on the gender path for a little while. I'd like your help with some more research. A lot of you have helped me already. But I'd like you to have a think about, what does an ambitious man look like? So imagine in your minds the first person that comes to your head when you think of ambition. Like what do they look like? What sort of clothes are they wearing? What's their ethnicity, age, social standing? And being really honest, go with the first person. Does anyone want to share? Who there? Go on.
Sean Hacker.
Sean Hacker. Anyone else? Good one. So, how many of you actually thought of a man that looked something like this? Yeah. And that's fine. Like when I was doing my research, this is pretty much what I was being described. And there's nothing wrong with these guys, right? Trudeau especially. But they're friendly, they're casual, like approachable, and I reckon strong leaders who can still be part of a team. I want you to do the same thing for me, and imagine an ambitious woman. How old is she? What does she look like? What sort of clothes is she wearing? What's her social standing? Anyone want to share with me what that woman looks like? Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, like probably. Yeah. In my head, it's a white woman probably in some sort of suit or something like that.
Okay. So, how many of you thought of a woman that looks something like this? Again, there's nothing to be ashamed of. This when I was doing my research, this is exactly what I was. This is exactly what I was finding. The women were describing a much older woman, post-childbearing age. They're much more smartly dressed, more corporate, perhaps a little colder, maybe a little less approachable. So that got me thinking about the gender pay gap and the lack of women in leadership positions, and made me think about what's driving that disparity. Is it that women can't get these positions and are struggling to achieve gender equality in the workplace, or is it that women are just less ambitious? This is going to be really fun, by the way, because I'm going to try and play a video next. Bear with me. And I want to show you a video from the Women of the Year Awards from a couple of years back. Reese Witherspoon talks about this exact issue after her struggle finding great roles for women that weren't sort of in a second place to a man. So, right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are in a cultural crisis. In every field and every industry, women are underrepresented and underpaid in leadership positions. And the reason we're all talking about it tonight, under 5% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are women. Only 19% of Congress is women. No wonder we don't have the health care we deserve, or paid family leave, or public access to early childhood education. And that really worries me. How can we expect legislation with our rights and our needs being preserved if we don't have equal representation? So here's my hope. If you're in politics, the media, the tech industry, working as an entrepreneur or a teacher or a construction worker or a caregiver, you know the problems we are all facing. And I urge each one of you to ask yourselves, what do we do now? That's a big question. What is it in your life that you think you cannot accomplish? Or what is it that people have said that you cannot do? Wouldn't it feel really good to prove them all wrong? Because I believe ambition is not a dirty word. It's just believing in yourself and your abilities. Imagine this. What would happen if we were all brave enough to believe in our own ability, to be a little bit more ambitious? I think the world would change. Thank you.
Start thinking about something, and I want to start thinking about something else that I found during my research, and also I think applies to why I was so upset by hearing that word ambitious used about me. And I came across a really interesting study in The Guardian that was taken from a survey that was taken last year that said 60% of British people describe themselves as working class. And this is really interesting because actually only around 25% of British people are actually working class. But there's something in our culture that says that we want to associate with being, we all want to be associated with being working class. So is there something in British culture that stops us from being able to own our ambition and drive forward for success. It's like we love an underdog, and like when I was reading the study, I thought of the time. Do you remember there was that guy he was a magician, and he went in a gold, like in a see-through box above the Thames, and so he was like us, but straight there, like cooking up a barbecue, wafting up the senses, like trying to not eat for like 60 days. Because, yeah, exactly. Because there's something about our culture that says, you tell me you're going to do something, I'm going to make it really difficult for you. And like also, yeah, that's really it, isn't it? I think there is something to do with being British, our love of the underdog, that makes us a little bit reticent to say that we're ambitious or like we're successful.
I'd like to share a little graph about the usage of the word ambitious,
Oh.
1800s to now, and how it drops off.
Oh, what does it mean?
As in the usage of the word ambition in our language and culture.
Oh, really? It's just gone downhill
nosedive.
because of the negative connotations associated with it. And I'm not saying that we should go like full Trump, strong and stable, whatever he says, like stable genius. Like we're not necessarily need to declare ourselves as the best of everything. But I wonder what would happen if we were able to own more of our success and desires. And moving on from that, I was constantly looking at like online and Google trying to find information about people who set ambitious goals or describe themselves as ambitious. And I found a really study that was published by the Journal of Consumer Research a couple of years ago that found that people who set ambitious goals were more likely to be happy or lead more content lives than people who do not. And the thing I found most interesting about this study is that the people who set these really ambitious goals didn't berate themselves or judge themselves when they reached the end point of their goal or end point of their time frame. When they got there, if they hadn't achieved their goals, they just set another one, and so that they always had something to go after. And I wonder what would happen if we were all a bit more confident in saying, I've set this really ambitious goal, and get there, great, I share it, I've succeeded, or get there, don't make it, but make another one anyway and just move on and not have it be such a massive cloud that hangs over us. And so I thought about that, and I thought about maybe I need to start setting myself some more ambitious goals, and most importantly, not judging myself so harshly if I don't succeed, and to stop apologizing if I do. And that's the biggest point, right? I'm sick of it because I feel like I'm hiding all of the time. But anytime something happens to me, anytime I've had some success at work, a promotion, something's gone well for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I don't know, I was just lucky. I think maybe we've got a bit of a friendship, and so I was just given a really good opportunity. Like, bullshit. I work really hard and I want to tell people about it. And like, I want people to be happy for me as I am for you. And that's the point. I want everyone to know. I feel happy now to say I'm ambitious. And this is what I go back and tell those girls who were talking about me, is that, yeah, you're right, I am really ambitious, but it doesn't mean you can't trust me, because I really care about your success just as much as I care about my own.